work-life balance is non-existent for some people. For me, I'm all about it. For others, they're like, what's that? I'm not a parent, but I imagine it'd be harder to manage my life if I had children. I also imagine it'd be super tough to be a startup founder and manage my life on top of that. Being a parent and a startup founder sounds like a nightmare to me. But some people are doing it. Word on the street is that great parents also make great startup founders. A simple, totally non-scientific poll I conducted on Twitter surfaced several parent startup founders. Let's see, we've got Mark Zuckerberg, parent and co-founder of Facebook, and let's not forget that both of Google's founders have kids. In the US, most workers have family caregiving responsibilities. In 2013, almost 70% of women and 90% of men with children under 18 were in the labor force. As it turns out, over 50% of mothers and fathers report difficulties in balancing work and life. Still, there seems to be this idea that it's crazy to be a parent and start a company. We have Sara Mauskopf of Winnie with us here today to talk about being a first-time founder and a first-time parent.
Sara Mauskopf is founder and CEO of Winnie, a startup that wants to help make it easier for parents to navigate the world. Before founding Winnie, Mauskopf worked at Twitter and Google. Most recently, she was head of product at on-demand delivery startup Postmates. Inspired by being a parent herself, she left big tech last November to start Winnie.
Hey Sara, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So what's it like balancing your time being a first-time startup founder and a first-time parent?
It's tough, but it's definitely doable. I think one of the nice things about now being a parent and having a very limited number of hours in my workday is it really causes me to focus. I know that when the day ends, I have my second job that begins.
Right, yeah, when the day ends, which it probably never does.
Yeah, so I have to prioritize the hardest things, doing them in the beginning of the day and getting them done, and I can't procrastinate and say I'll get to something later.
Why do you think it is that there's this idea that it's just crazy to run a startup and also be a new parent? Or is that what people think, or is that just me?
Well, people have definitely told me that it's a little crazy. My co-founder and I are both parents.
Okay.
She has 2 kids, so she has double the amount of work. And yeah, we've definitely heard why are you doing this to yourselves? There's a lot of easier jobs you could do. I think it's not actually that crazy. Men forever have been running companies and also being parents,
right?
But they just don't get interviewed by TechCrunch about it. So they've worked it out and they've made it work.
Right.
So I think it's totally possible, and I'm hopeful that I'm seeing more and more women who are parents start companies.
So just a topic that's been prevalent in the media is just around parental leave policies. Is there some ideal parental leave policy that companies should enact?
Well, Twitter just announced today that they're giving the same number of weeks leave to men as women, which I think is great, to remove that gender distinction that the women have to stay home for longer with their babies.
Right.
And then especially as more and more families, there may not be a mom, there may be 2 dads or one dad. One of the things I care a lot about, though, is to have a great leave policy is one thing, but then also, what kind of culture do you have at your company when parents come back and are working there? And I think that actually matters a lot more than people think. If you get a few months of leave, but then you come back and it's just a terrible place for parents to work,
right.
You're not going to be able to retain those parents, even if they had a wonderful experience on leave.
What do you think tech companies should do to make it easier for parents?
The first thing I think is important is to not, when you're evaluating performance, sort of include what I like to call cultural activities or after work socialization as the way you evaluate someone's performance.
Right.
Because those kinds of activities, especially after work drinks where people may bond and form connections, can exclude pregnant and nursing women, new parents,
Right.
Or people who just don't prefer to do those things. And again, with not sort of rewarding social activities, also not rewarding just long hours in the office, and instead rewarding actual results.
Right.
And I think you'll find that parents, because they focus more and they're way more serious when they get to work and they have a job to get done, you know, they probably don't take a long lunch break or play video games during the day. And so they may not need to spend long hours in the office every single day to actually accomplish just as much or even more than others. So rewarding the actual output rather than just the hours spent really helps parents who want to be home and spending time with their kids as well.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, Sara.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Bullish airs every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and you can find it here on TechCrunch.com.